Well, thank you all for staying past lunch to the afternoon session. I'm Michael Gold, a senior editor, thought leadership with the Economist Intelligence Unit, here to present some of the research that we do in conjunction with the Pride and Prejudice event. So those of you who have been following Pride and Prejudice, who are familiar with us over the past several years will know that research, primary original research around LGBT rights around the world is a very crucial part of our overall initiative. And this year, considering the focus on Asia Pacific, our research is also exclusively focused on Asia Pacific, so should be of great interest to everyone here in the room. So the first year we did the research in 2015, we were asking very general attitudes around diversity and inclusion, particularly in workplaces toward LGBT people. 2016 and 2017, we repeated the same research program, and we asked sort of different subtopics in this space. Now that we're sort of 4 years out from the first research program, we wanted to sort of go back to basics to really sort of re-explore some of those very baseline questions around attitudes and opinions toward LGBT diversity and inclusion, and do some comparisons, both on sort of Asia Pacific then and now, but also Asia Pacific versus other global regions, right? Has it moved faster than other places? Has it been slower? In which areas? So our research is based on a survey of both the general public and business executives. A large share of that is people in the business world. And so we have some questions about the business space, some questions about broader society in general. And so let's just get right into the findings. So we have three key findings from this year's research. So what we can sort of see from, especially comparing 2015 to now, is that we are seeing progress. So we're seeing, a virtuous circle, essentially, especially in businesses, around visibility for LGBT workers rising, along with the perception of, say, bottom line benefits to LGBT D&I. So ideas like return on investment of LGBT progress raising measures in the workplace. However, there's still a lot of questions about whether companies are really doing enough, whether they're sort of meeting the expectations of workers for LGBT diversity and inclusion, whether they are really keeping pace with change, as the motto of this year's event states. Sort of zooming out to look at more broader society in general. So business momentum is increasing against the backdrop of broader society. So we are seeing progress in our broader survey panel around LGBT diversity and inclusion as well. Of course, setbacks do happen, as we've seen all throughout the day today, but we are seeing progress in that respect as well. So I'll go through some of the more specific data points that we uncovered through our survey. So one of the key questions that we were looking at is sort of the presence of LGBT advocates in companies. So the question wording is essentially asking, agree or disagree, there are prominent LGBT advocates in my company. So again, sort of looking both at a comparison between 2015 to 2019, as well as a comparison between Asia Pacific and other regions, we can see that there has been progress made in this respect. So we can see that 26% of respondents in 2015 agreed with this statement versus 32% this year. Not quite as high as the share we see in North America, of course, where we have a very significant jump of 20%, but largely in line with other global regions. So obviously definitely a welcome trend for this region, for Asia Pacific. So looking at the return on investment, right, the sort of the financial aspect of LGBT diversity and inclusion in companies. So the question essentially that we asked is, do you think there is a potential ROI, business opportunity, in enacting LGBT-friendly workplace policies and practices? So again, we see progress being made, of course, encouraging signs. In Asia Pacific, 10% jump from 2016, which is when we asked that question, to 2019. Again, not quite as high as some of the other regions, particularly North America, but still a pretty good benchmark and a pretty good sort of measure of progress. Now, a question sort of about what employees are expecting of their company, sort of what they would like to see happen. So we asked, how much more or less would you like your company to be investing in LGBT diversity and inclusion raising measures and initiatives? So again, more progress on this front from the corporate perspective. Asia Pacific, a jump of 11% from 2015 to 2019 of employees that would like their companies to invest more. And this is actually quite a good it compares well to other global regions. As you can see here, Middle East and Africa was high to begin with and remains high. It's a fairly progress-starved region, unfortunately. But it does compare well and favorably to even North America, Europe, other ostensibly more progressive places on LGBT rights. However, sort of looking at the flip side of things, one data point that we found when we asked the question, to what extent do you believe your company has made progress in sexual orientation and gender identity diversity over the last 3 years, there could be some evidence here that progress perhaps is stalling. So if you look at the share that answered limited or no progress in their companies, in 2015, only 28% or so said so. 2019, that share increased. So I don't know, perhaps this implies that progress might not be increasing as quickly as it was, in the years leading up to 2015. It could also mean, on the flip side, that expectations are higher among companies, considering that there has been a lot going on, especially in Asia Pacific, and this just shows the Asia Pacific results. So it'd be, hopefully there's a good fodder for discussion, and I'd be interested to hear all of your guys' opinion about this in your companies. So sort of zooming out to broader society, we did ask questions of a broader survey panel as well about LGBT diversity and inclusion in society as a whole. So again, looking just at Asia Pacific, we asked among those who believe that the overall climate for LGBT D&I has become more open, has improved, the main factors that have driven this shift. So you can see these are the top 3 policies up here, sort of gaining equal share each, so broader awareness of minority and gender rights, mainstream media coverage of LGBT issues, and change in policies and laws, obviously very relevant just recently in Taiwan and Hong Kong, of course, and India. Unfortunately, business enterprise advocacy only gets 7%. So again, we're sort of perhaps seeing that there's more that businesses could be doing. They're maybe not fulfilling the expectations of their staff or of society for action in this space. Now, one question that we asked, fairly relevant to the current moment here, given the developments in Taiwan, basically around same-sex marriage. So essentially, we were asking for kind of a prediction. Legalization of same-sex marriage will inevitably spread across Asia, and I do read this as a positive development in the sense that 45% of our survey panel agreed with that. I presume that many people here in the room would also agree with that, but our survey panel may comprise a variety of opinions towards same-sex marriage, but essentially what we're asking is, given the environment in your country, the reality on the ground, how you view the direction of travel, do you think that same-sex marriage will spread in Asia Pacific? And nearly an absolute majority said yes. So we think that this is also quite a positive development. And so sort of bringing it back to what companies are doing, sort of relating to sort of the nexus between companies and broader society, we asked, agree or disagree companies need to do more to protect LGBT employees in countries that have anti-LGBT legislation. So again, we were just looking at the example of India there. That's a very complex picture, but according to our survey panel, our respondents, this is asked of the business, the executive respondents only, a growing share believe that companies do need to take more action and do need to do more. So you can see Asia Pacific increased alongside respective shares in other regions from 2015 to 2019. So more takeaways, for your own companies, your own business communities in your own countries about how especially MNCs, multinational corporations based in Western countries, perhaps should be doing more to protect their employees in discriminatory places. So just a very sort of quick wrap up. We are seeing more visibility for LGBT advocates in companies, also a greater link to the return on investment, a greater sense of the bottom line benefits to LGBT diversity and inclusion in companies. There are questions around whether companies are filling the need, sort of filling the desire among staff, especially perhaps the younger, the Generation Z and millennials that we've been discussing earlier for LGBT diversity and inclusion. And I sort of put this here as kind of just a symbol of sort of the arrow of progress, which we do believe is continuing to move forward in Asia Pacific, despite setbacks that may still be occurring in places where progress is still quite stuck. So that essentially sums up the key research findings. We have printed copies of the report, which has a lot more details. You will all get those in your sort of farewell packets as you leave today. You can also access it online through the app in the resources section. Go to the prideandprejudice.economist.com/research, and you can get the report there as well. I can give a few more details about the survey demographics here. For people who are interested, although I'm running out of time and would like to leave a few minutes for questions. So you can see all the details about this in the report and online. Any questions from the audience? All right, well, excellent. Thank you all very much for listening.